Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Following the Cold War and the diminishment of the Soviet threats, newly elected President John F. Kennedy turned to the face the prolonged injustice emerging in the United States. In his inaugural address, JFK addresses his goals of strengthening foreign policy and how the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This speech caught my attention due to the time period it was given. With the country divided by Cold War, Kennedy aimed to not only unite the country, but to encourage positive relations with other countries as a whole. As the youngest man to ever be elected into office, President Kennedy gave one of the most respected inaugural speeches in history. The speech established guidelines for future generations, motivating everyday citizens to contribute whatever possible to the bettering of the country. John F. Kennedy served as the 35th President of the United States. JFK attended Harvard University, where he joined the United States Naval Reserve the following year. In 1944, he was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal of Heroism during his service in the Second World War, where he was credited for saving the life of a severely injured senior officer, along with leading a group of surviving soldiers to their rescue. Representing the Democratic Party, Kennedy became the youngest president in history, breaking the eight-year streak the Republicans had under Eisenhower's presidency in the previous years, while America was still at the height of the Cold War. One of the most famous speeches was the inaugural speech of JFK, and was given when he was only 43 years old. On the 20th of January 1961, Kennedy stood in front of the Supreme Court with all of the nation's eyes on him. He gave a speech to the people. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our course. Since the country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending its freedom in this hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it, and the glow from that fire will truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are a citizen of America or a citizen of the world, ask us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward with history, the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. This speech set out the guidelines for America, motivating people to strive for the freedom of man. It reassured everyone that people are stronger, and that war doesn't solve anything. War doesn't solve anything. And encouraged not only countries, but for allies to unite with one another as a whole. It reassured everyone that people are stronger, and war doesn't solve anything. In his inaugural address, JFK addresses his goals of strengthening foreign policy and how the needs of the many outweigh the few. With a country divided by the Cold War, Kennedy aimed to not only unite the country, but to encourage positive relations with other countries as a whole. As the youngest man to be elected into office, President Kennedy gave one of the most respected inaugural speeches in history. To this day, people can still keep his empowering purpose in mind, that is, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Ask not what America will do for you, but what we can do together for the freedom of man.